My parents always called me a dropout. Look at your sister, they'd say. Meanwhile, I had secretly built an $83 million tech company while she was wearing a $20,000 gown. For 26 years, I was the family disappointment, the sister who worked in customer service, the one who couldn't finish anything. My older sister, Sophia Bennett, had become a corporate executive at a pharmaceutical company. My name is Rachel Taylor. Sophia seemed to fulfill all of my parents' expectations. She was the director of operations at MedTech Solutions with an MBA from Northwestern, earning $220,000 a year. She was engaged to Nathaniel Grant, whose family owned a network of private hospitals across Texas. Mom shared pictures of their down Dallas penthouse with nearly everyone she met. My 800 square foot flat in Deep Ellum? That was Rachel's bohemian phase. After 2 years of college, I left. The workload was overwhelming and my voice full of disappointment. Dad told people they never asked for the more nuanced truth. Family meetings often highlighted the difference between us. At medical conferences, Sophia would talk about product launches, team management, and networking. Nathaniel discussed politics, yachts, and the Grant Family Foundation. And me? Mom would quickly change the subject if I mentioned my work. That's nice. Tell everyone about your award, Sophia, please. Sophia's award, a rising pharmaceutical operations star from an industry journal, was displayed prominently in 3 places: her office, her penthouse, and my parents' living room. My awards, stored in a drawer in the guest room. I discovered them while searching for extra blankets. Wedding planning began 18 months ahead of Sophia's big day. She demanded perfection. A $350,000 ceremony at the Rosewood Mansion, 300 guests, a celebrity planner, and luxurious attire. The Grants contributed $200,000, and my parents mortgaged their home for the rest. Mom said, "This is a once-in-a-life event," her eyes gleaming. Originally, I was meant to be a bridesmaid. Then Sophia decided to invite only her pharmaceutical colleagues for appearances. I was downgraded to a regular guest. 3 weeks before the wedding, I received a text. "We need to discuss the wedding, Rachel. Nathaniel's parents are very image conscious. It might be better if you didn't attend. You'd feel more comfortable." I stared at the message. I was not invited to my own sister's wedding. I replied with one word: understood. Sophia called immediately. "Rachel, please don't be dramatic." "I'm not," I said. "You asked me not to come. I'm not coming." She explained the complexities. Nathaniel's parents were well connected, expecting a certain image. My customer service job, my Deep Ellum apartment, my Honda Fit wasn't part of it. Perfectly clear. After hanging up, I sat quietly in my apartment, surrounded by my modest furniture, small kitchen, and one bathroom, once described by Sophia as aggressively small. I turned to my laptop and checked the Austin Governor's Business Awards calendar. April 15th, the same night as Sophia's wedding. I had initially planned to attend her wedding instead, but now I had a different plan. What my family didn't know was that in the 4 years since leaving college, I hadn't wasted my time. I didn't quit because the workload was too much. I left because I had discovered a problem I had to solve. During my sophomore year at UT Austin, I noticed small businesses, shops, service providers, local enterprises struggling with the same issue. Enterprise-level CRM software was too expensive, while low-cost alternatives were inadequate. Prices ranged from $40,000 to $190,000 per year, far beyond most small business budgets. I decided to create a solution. I taught myself to code and worked nights for 8 months developing a CRM software specifically for small enterprises. I called it Client Flow. The platform was cloud-based, with monthly subscriptions between $89 and $279. It included everything a small business needed and nothing more. In 2020, I committed to Client Flow full-time. My parents believed I was wasting my life. They didn't know I had already signed my first 50 clients and was earning $7,500 per month in recurring revenue. By 2021, Client Flow had 800 clients, generating $170,000 monthly. By 2022, we served 3,200 clients at $600,000 per month. By 2023, 8,200 clients nationwide were using the platform, generating $1.8 million per month, $21.5 million per year. I built a team of 24, including a CFO with prior Oracle experience, a head of sales with 3 successful companies under their belt, and a customer success team of 12 handling onboarding and support. By January 2024, after our Series B funding round, client flow was valued at $83 million. Yet, as Sophia wore her designer outfits, I continued showing up to family events in jeans and t-shirts, living in my small Deep Ellum apartment, driving my Honda Fit, and working mostly from home. When asked what I did, I'd say, I work in customer service. Technically correct, yet it concealed the truth. I owned a thriving company. I wanted to see if my family's love was conditional on my success. Sophia's text had made one thing clear: family approval wasn't guaranteed. That night, the Texas Governor's Business Awards provided the perfect stage. Founded 15 years ago, the awards honor young Texans driving innovation and creating jobs. The under 30 category is especially prestigious, with only 5 winners chosen from hundreds of nominations. One of my investors, a venture capitalist with the governor's personal cell number, suggested me. Originally, I planned to quietly attend, accept the award, and let it fade into the background, but circumstances had changed. I paid $7,500 for a custom Alexander McQueen dress in midnight blue with professional hair and makeup from Austin Fashion Week stylists and shoes worth more than some months of my rent. Ethan Harris, CEO of a semiconductor company recently valued at $2.9 billion, accompanied me. We met at a founders conference in San Francisco and remained friends. Family who dismisses you doesn't deserve you, he said when I told him about Sophia. He volunteered immediately. Let's make sure your success is impossible to ignore. The ceremony began at 7 p.m., the same time as Sophia's wedding at the Rosewood Mansion in Dallas. Governor Lisa Harper delivered the opening remarks. Attendees included top CEOs, investors, politicians, and journalists. I sat at a front table with Ethan, my CFO James, and 2 early investors. As Governor Harper announced the winners, she saved the most applause-worthy for last. The final Under 30 award winner exemplifies the innovation Texas needs. She has created 24 well-paying jobs in Austin, serves over 8,200 small businesses nationwide, generates $21.5 million in revenue annually, and built a company valued at $83 million in just 4 years. She's a first-generation college student who dropped out to follow her dream, taught herself to code, and disrupted an industry dominated by giants. Please welcome to the stage Rachel Taylor, founder and CEO of Client Flow. I stood, Ethan squeezed my hand, and I walked to the stage in my $7,500 dress and $1,000 shoes. I shook hands with Governor Harper and accepted the Crystal Trophy as the audience erupted in cheers. Tell us what drove you to build Client Flow, the governor said into the microphone. I spoke clearly to 500 of Texas' most influential business leaders. I noticed small business owners lacked support. They couldn't afford tools to compete. I created Client Flow to make technology accessible and help their businesses grow. And you left college to do this? The governor asked. Yes, I replied. It was the hardest decision of my life. My relatives didn't understand. They thought I was throwing away my future. Turns out, I was building it. Then I added, addressing young entrepreneurs. If you lack family support, build it anyway. When you succeed, the people who truly love you will celebrate. If they don't, you've built something even more valuable, your independence. The applause was thunderous. Photographers captured every angle, and Forbes shared the photos across social media within minutes, tagging me, Client Flow, and the governor. The caption read, Rachel Taylor, 26, receives the prestigious Governor's Under 30 CEO Award for building an $83 million company revolutionizing small business technology. I was trending on social media while Sophia recited her vows in Dallas. My phone buzzed nonstop. By 10 p.m., I had 127 unread messages from journalists, business contacts, and old classmates. Client Flow's website traffic had increased by 847% in one day. Venture capital firms were reaching out about Series C funding. News of my award reached my family immediately. At Sophia's wedding, Mom sent a timestamped message at 7:47 p.m. Rachel, I'm seeing pictures of you with the governor. Is this real? Call me. Dad followed at 8:15 p.m. How come you didn't inform us? Sophia's text arrived at 9:03 p.m. My wedding guests are all looking at your Forbes feature. You did this on purpose. How could you? I ignored my phone, focusing on the evening, speaking with journalists and CEOs, and celebrating with Ethan, my team, and other award winners. By midnight, the Forbes article had been shared 200,000 times. Client Flow's website traffic surged, sales were overloaded, and venture capital firms were emailing about Series C funding. 2 days later, Sophia called. I let it ring. When she tried again, I declined. She texted, "We need to talk. You didn't come to the wedding to avoid making us look bad." I replied, "What more is there to discuss? You never asked. You assumed. Not my problem. Enjoy your marriage." An hour later, Mom called. I answered, curious. "Rachel, Forbes, the governor, an $83 million company, you kept it from us. You never told us what you actually do," she said. "I do customer service," I replied. "Technically true, but I also own the company, serving 8,200 clients nationwide." There was silence on the line. "Why didn't you tell us?" she asked, her voice trembling. "If you told us 4 years ago that you were starting a business and leaving school, would we have supported you or warned you you were wasting your life?" I let her words linger. "You must understand, Rachel. We were worried. You left school, lived in that small apartment, never seemed wealthy." I explained briefly. All my money had been reinvested into the business, which is standard for startups. They hadn't asked. I hadn't felt the need to announce success before it was real. At that moment, I realized something fundamental. I no longer needed their approval. Their recognition, or lack thereof, did not define my achievements. My success was undeniable, by the numbers, by the awards, by the clients I served, and by the thriving team I had built. By the end of that week, the Forbes article had attracted attention from journalists, investors, and the business community far beyond Texas. Client Flow's growth trajectory accelerated, and I had proven to myself that dedication, vision, and independence matter more than familial validation. Sophia had her dream wedding, but I had mine. A night where my achievements were recognized on a stage that mattered, by people who mattered, and in a way my family could no longer ignore. In the end, I learned this. Family approval is optional, but your vision is not. You can build the life you want, even if others don't understand. And success, real, measurable, undeniable success, speaks for itself. I realized I shouldn't have to explain myself to earn basic respect from my own family. Calm but firm, I said, "You have treated me like a failure for the past 4 years. At every opportunity, you disparaged my work, patronized my decisions, and compared me to Sophia. Sophia didn't ask me to her wedding because she thought I would embarrass her in front of the Grants. This isn't miscommunication. It's intentional. She didn't give me thought. None of you did." Mom tried to continue, saying Nathaniel's parents were impressed by me and wanted to meet. I cut her off. "Forbes calls me successful. Now they want to meet me, not because I'm Sophia's sister, but for what I've built. That's equitable, but it doesn't mean I'm at your disposal." I hung up, switched my phone to Do Not Disturb, and returned to work. My CFO, James, handled the influx of opportunities, speaking engagements at major tech conferences, 7 Series C funding offers, acquisition inquiries, board invitations, and a commencement speech at UT Austin. Rebecca Harris, a former PR expert, advised, "Lean into your story." A young Latina founder who dropped out and built an $83 million business. I didn't see it as exploitation, but as authenticity. My story could inspire hundreds of others. That month, I gave 3 interviews, discussing being a first-generation student, the pressure to follow a conventional path, and creating something from nothing. Responses were overwhelmingly positive. Young women, first-generation students, and aspiring entrepreneurs wrote to say my story gave them courage. Meanwhile, the Grant family was furious. Sophia had excluded me, and now she faced the consequences. 3 weeks after the wedding, Nathaniel called. I almost didn't answer. "Rachel, we haven't formally met. I regret the wedding incident. Sophia acted under stress." I cut him off. "Her stress isn't the issue. She threw me out because she judged me. That was her opinion. None of you bothered to ask what I was building. You saw what you wanted. A dropout, a failure, someone beneath you. Now that I'm useful, suddenly I matter. No, I'm not interested." I hung up. 10 minutes later, Sophia called repeatedly. I ignored her. Eventually, Mom appeared at my apartment unannounced. She looked around at my small space and my IKEA furniture. "So this is where you've been living for 4 years?" "Yes. While I was building an $83 million business, I said. Mom sat down. She admitted, "We didn't understand. We were unaware. You never asked." I explained, I needed to know if they loved me simply for being their daughter, not for my achievements. She looked pained. "We love you. Of course we do," she said. "Do you?" "Because you've treated me like a disappointment for 4 years," I replied. We spoke honestly. I explained that I dropped out to seize a time-sensitive opportunity, and every day in class was a day I lost customers and investors. My parents had assumed failure instead of investigating the truth. Mom and Dad admitted their mistakes. My father said, "I failed you. I judged instead of trusting. We treated you as though you were failing, while Sophia was excelling. You were building something remarkable." I responded, "1 coffee a month in public for an hour. No judgments, no preconceptions." We started slowly rebuilding our relationship. Over the next 3 months, Client Flow secured $30 million in Series C funding, raising the valuation to $115 million. We hired 18 more employees, opened a San Francisco office, and partnered with 3 major small business associations. I spoke at SSW to 5,000 attendees, sharing lessons on entrepreneurship and resilience. Sophia, meanwhile, faced the fallout of her choices. 8 months after her $350,000 wedding, she and Nathaniel split. She moved back in with our parents and began therapy, working through her role in family dynamics. Our communication is now cautious but improving. Mom and I meet occasionally for coffee, and she has begun asking sincere questions rather than passing judgment. Client Flow continues to flourish. Last quarter, annual sales reached $40 million, with projections of $48 million this year. But the real success isn't the revenue or accolades. It's recognizing my value regardless of others' approval and creating a life that is truly mine. At UT Austin, I recently spoke to 500 students. One asked, "How did you handle your family not supporting you?" I replied simply, "The people who genuinely love you will celebrate your success. If they don't, you've built something even more important, your independence." The applause was overwhelming. For me, the ultimate lesson is clear. Real success comes from creating something authentic, aligned with your values, and immune to the opinions of others. I was recognized by the governor, built a $115 million company, and discovered the worth of chosen family. Sophia, on the other hand, is learning to find herself outside the expectations of others. And I thrive, not because of validation, but because I created my life on my own terms, proof that being undervalued can lead to the most remarkable achievements. Looking back, I realized that true validation comes not from awards, money, or even family approval, but from creating a life that reflects your own vision. Client Flow isn't just a company. It's proof that persistence, focus, and self-belief matter more than external recognition. The governor's trophy sits on my desk, not as a symbol for anyone else, but as a reminder that I built this on my terms, without permission, without compromise, and without letting anyone else define my worth. Family dynamics may remain complex, but I've learned to set boundaries. I spend time with my parents when it feels sincere, not obligatory. I respond to Sophia cautiously, balancing acknowledgement with the need to protect my achievements and self-respect. Over time, we may rebuild our relationship, but it will be on new terms, grounded in honesty and mutual respect. For anyone watching this, remember, sometimes leaving the expected path is not failure, it's opportunity. The people who genuinely care about you will celebrate your growth, while those who don't simply won't. Your independence, your confidence, and your accomplishments are what define you, not the judgments of others. Through these experiences, I've learned to focus on impact rather than appearances. Client Flow continues to grow, creating jobs, supporting small businesses, and expanding across the country. My life is measured not by comparisons to others, but by what I have built, the people I surround myself with, and the freedom to chart my own course. At 28, I have a thriving business, a home I love, and meaningful relationships with my chosen family, friends, mentors, and colleagues who respect me for who I am, not just what I've achieved. The lessons are clear. Pursue what matters, trust yourself, and never let the dismissal of others define your potential. If you've ever been undervalued, doubted, or dismissed, know this. The most powerful response isn't anger or retaliation. It's creating a life so authentic, successful, and true to yourself that no one's opinion can diminish it. That is freedom, and that is real success. The journey taught me more than business success. It taught me about self-worth, resilience, and perspective. I learned that validation from others, even family, is never guaranteed. What is guaranteed is the value of the work you create, the life you build, and the people you choose to surround yourself with. Success isn't defined by social approval, awards, or appearances. It's defined by the independence to make decisions, the courage to follow your own path, and the impact you leave behind. I found fulfillment in proving to myself that I could achieve greatness, regardless of external recognition. To anyone facing doubt, whether from family, peers, or society, remember this: your potential is not diminished by others' disbelief. Your growth, your accomplishments, and your choices are yours to shape. Build something meaningful. Pursue your vision relentlessly, and the respect, acknowledgement, and opportunities will follow. Looking back at client flow, the growth, the employees, the satisfied clients, and the recognition from industry leaders, all of it was possible because I stayed true to my vision. Nothing my family or others said could have stopped me, and nothing should stop you from chasing your goals. So as you move forward, ask yourself, are you building a life to satisfy others, or are you building a life that reflects your own values, skills, and ambitions? The difference is transformative. For me, the most rewarding realization is that I no longer need to prove myself to anyone. My value is inherent. My life is self-directed. My achievements are my own. And the freedom to define my path, that is the greatest success of all. As I close this chapter, I want to leave you with a few key lessons. Life will often place you in situations where your choices are misunderstood, your efforts go unnoticed, or your potential is underestimated. What matters most is how you respond. Success is not about proving others wrong. It's about building a life so aligned with your values and ambitions that approval becomes irrelevant. It's about creating something meaningful, serving others, and honoring your own journey. Family, friends, and colleagues may not always understand your path. Some will support you, some will doubt you, and some will resist seeing your achievements. That's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their perspective. What you do with your vision, dedication, and courage is what truly defines you. For anyone struggling to pursue their dreams against skepticism or criticism, believe in yourself, embrace your independence, and focus on creating value. The respect and recognition that truly matter will follow. Finally, remember this: your worth is not tied to titles, money, or accolades. Your worth is in your choices, your resilience, and the life you create on your own terms. That is a legacy no one can take away. Not family, not society, and certainly not anyone who underestimated you. I encourage you to reflect. What would you create if you stopped worrying about approval? What impact could you make if you followed your path fully, without compromise? The answers may surprise you, and they just might define the life you were meant to lead. Before we wrap up, I want to emphasize one final point. The most powerful form of success isn't what others see. It's what you know you've accomplished for yourself. Building a life aligned with your values, passions, and ambitions is the true measure of achievement. Through this journey, I learned that independence, self-respect, and clarity of purpose outweigh the need for approval from anyone, including family. The life you design, the impact you make, and the confidence you cultivate define your legacy far more than awards, titles, or social validation ever could. So to everyone watching, take risks, pursue what matters to you, and stay true to your vision. Celebrate your wins, embrace your failures, and know that the courage to create your path is the most valuable asset you'll ever have. If this story resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear about the moments when you chose your own path, overcame doubt, or proved yourself, not to anyone else, but to yourself. Your story matters, and your independence is your power. Remember, life is not about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right.